Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the Planning Commission. Today is Thursday, August 24th, and it is 7:04 p.m. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Sims,
Here.
Vice Chair Corsack,
Present.
Chair Barnes,
Present?
and we have Commissioner Lowell excuse absence today.
Yes. Thank you. Now, Commissioner Korzak, could you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands.
Thank you. At this time, we need to approve the agenda. A motion?
I'll move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion from Commissioner Baker, second from Commissioner Sims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the consent calendar. We have the approval of minutes for the special meeting of July 20th. Anyone have any comments, corrections, adjustments?
Well, I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the Planning Commission special meeting of July 20th, 2017.
Thank you. Motion from Commissioner Sims, second from Commissioner Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposed. Moving along. Now to the public comments portion of the meeting. Person wishing to address the commission in any manner, either under the public comments section of the agenda or scheduled items or public hearings, please fill out a request slip, form available at the door. Turn those into Erica. Do we have any speaker slips?
No.
No speaker slips. All right. We will move past public comments to non-public hearing items.
We have none.
We have none. All right. Next, public hearing items. The first case is PEN 17-0048. The applicant is Martha Veloz. And do we have a staff report?
I'd like to introduce Sergio Gutierrez, a consultant that works for our department, who will be making this presentation.
Welcome.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Chairman Barnes. Thank you, Planning Commission. The project consists of a conditional use permit to allow alcoholic beverage sales within an existing 2,400 square foot Carniceria Las Glorias convenience store located at 13373 Paris Boulevard. The alcoholic beverage sales will be limited to beer and wine off-site consumption only through a Type 20 alcohol license obtained by the California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. The current hours of operation for the convenience store are 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. The interior of the convenience store includes a variety of amenities, including groceries, a meat market, and household items, which make the convenience store unique. Based on the city's municipal code definitions when consideration of the size of the store, it was determined that this business most closely fit the convenience store as opposed to the retail sales establishment. The project site is located within the Hometown Square Commercial Center in Suite D 304 and 305. The site is surrounded existing retail, office, and restaurant uses within the commercial center. The surrounding uses from the project site include residential to the west, commercial uses to the north, vacant land to the east, zoned as office, and existing commercial and residential uses to the south. The project site is located in a community commercial zone. Convenience store use is consistent with the community commercial zoning district. Based on the city's municipal code, alcohol sales within convenience stores require a conditional use permit if within 300 feet of residential. The site is located approximately 200 feet from residential, which requires a conditional use application. There are no proposed exterior modifications to the site. The only modifications include interior, which will accommodate a refrigerator for the beer and wine sales. To minimize potential concerns, a condition of approval has been placed to limit the alcohol sales to current hours of operation, which are 7 a.m. through 9 p.m. The project was routed and reviewed by the police department. The police had addressed specific comments to staff. The project was reviewed in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and determined to be that this project qualifies as a Class 1 category exemption under Section 15301, existing facilities. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 201730 and thereby certify that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act as a Class 1 category exemption, Section 15301, existing facilities, and request approval from conditional use permit PEN 17-0048, subject to the attached conditions of approval included in Exhibit A. The representative, Mr. Melvin Evett, is present tonight to answer any questions that may arise from the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Good evening. My name is Melvin Evett, also known as Dick Evett. I reside at 5905 Wincliffe Drive in Harupa Valley. I've been a real estate business broker for quite a number of years, and I've been to the Moreno Valley over the years, and they've been very cooperative with what I've been requesting. The client is a very small operation. They're just requesting that they be allowed to sell beer and wine in their store to accomplish and complement their sales of meat, produce, and groceries. They're not asking to, they'll even specify they don't even require singles. They just like to have prepackaged items from the manufacturer. They're going to be a limited space, so they don't have a large space, so they're respectfully requesting that you be allowed them to have the sale of beer and wine. And when we're talking about this, ABC requires a PCN letter, a public convenience necessity letter, either by the, in this case I believe the police department is the one that authorizes that, or if they would make a comment that they will make no decision, then ABC can issue the license with your approval. But until then, we're on a hold. So, is there any questions I can ask you for you or answer for you?
Can you explain what prepackaged is?
Like a 6-pack or 12-pack, anything. No singles sales of any size. No 6-pack, no 12 ounce, 16 ounce, no 20 ounce, no 40 ounce. Strictly prepackaged items from the manufacturer.
And what about wine? Like wine coolers? Is that what you're talking about?
But wine coolers come in 4-packs, and you can eliminate the size of the containers of the wine at 750. In other words, you don't have those small, easy single shot packages. We are not going to have any of that. The wine will consist of a 750 milliliter, a little less than a quarter size in the wines. Beer and wine, no singles.
I have a question.
Commissioner Sims, go ahead.
On the sketch, it's on packet page 63. I don't know if, yeah, there it
I can
is.
see it. Go ahead.
So it looks like you're proposing to put the refrigerators right in front of in front of the restroom for this property. So how is that going to work? That's looks like it's not going to work. Yeah.
That clarify for you?
Yeah, I just, the sketch though would tend to look like the refrigerators are blocking the door
No,
to the restroom.
there's room to walk behind it.
And that, I would assume that they'd be placed per code, whatever building.
It would have to be by our building code and exiting requirements, and the width of the aisles would have to be checked. We did not, actually, let me ask Sergio. Sergio, did you visit the site to see if the entire interior of the space already has the shelving as described?
I did make a site visit. Unfortunately, I didn't go inside the convenience store. I mainly checked the exterior and did a walk around the project site as far as the outside. I didn't go inside to check about on the shelving as mentioned.
Okay, so in terms of changing out the equipment to put in a new refrigerator, they would have to get the appropriate building permit, and then there would be an inspection done, and the inspection would be to verify that it was installed correctly and that it also maintains all the exiting requirements, and it would provide access to the restroom. So we have some assurances that that could be accommodated, and we can pass that information on to our building department if that's a concern of the commission that we'd like us to emphasize.
Thank you.
Mr. Baker?
I did visit the site and visited, I think, the manager or the owner. And I think where they're going to put this, it seemed like to me, I mean, I didn't measure anything out, but it seemed like it would work. And I will say this is one of the cleanest markets I've seen in a long time. I mean, it really, he's spick and span, and they really do a nice job their way, it looks to me. But I'm no expert on markets, but when I went in there, it really looked nice.
You know, you're saying it's prepackaged right now, but when you get this permit, I don't believe the ABC license says it has to be prepackaged. So now you're talking prepackaged, but in a year, you could eliminate that and do the regular bottles of wine and all those things. So I understand your approach on this, but I don't think that, well, first, we're just going for the conditional use permit. But I don't think the ABC license requires it to be prepackaged. I think it's your plan for now, but will it be your plan in a year?
When the city approves, if and when the city approves this, and you put a condition on there that the beer and wine will be sold in prepackaged items only, that goes directly to ABC, and they'll type up their conditions accordingly. If they decided after a year they want to change it and try to sell singles, then they have to come back to the city and have to go back to the ABC before that even gets considered. So that's down a year down the road before they even consider it. And they have no desire to sell singles because they don't have room for it.
But things do change, and, you know.
Well, that's correct, but you're protected by the conditional use permit that you issue to to ABC, and they will modify and make the conditions according to however you tell them.
Can staff confirm that? Is that true?
Well, just to clarify that, right now, as the conditional use permit conditions are written, there is not a condition that specifies restriction of sale of singles.
Okay. Do we know that what he's presented is accurate, that
If I may add, the applicant or the applicant's representative had a meeting with our staff just a little bit earlier before the meeting, and they talked about this particular issue. It has been the position of the planning department not to put such a condition on the CUP at this point, because that would be a very difficult condition to enforce. If it is the prerogative of the commission, we can enter that into the conditions of approval. I just want to make sure that you understand it is an enforcement issue, and so Chris is correct. With regard to ABC issuing a license, that's a completely separate process from the approval of a conditional use permit. So tonight, what we have before you is a recommendation from the staff to approve the conditional use permit. That conditional use permit basically is a prerequisite for them to sell the alcohol at the site. It does not remove the necessity for them to get an appropriate license through the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. If the Alcohol Beverage Control Board is not yet prepared to issue a license, I just want to point out for the commission that the life of the CUP that you approved tonight, if you did go that route, is good for 36 months. So they would have up to 36 months to work out their issues with the ABC to get the license. And there's also opportunities if, for whatever reason, they weren't able to work out those issues within 36 months, an applicant can always request an extension of time on their applications, and we do have provisions in the code to extend the time. I know that doesn't necessarily give the applicant, some assurance that they're be ready to go, but we can't force the determination of alcoholic beverage control. He's absolutely correct that right now our process here at the city is if ABC needs a letter of stating that there is a public necessity or convenience that can override ABC's concerns with an oversaturated market, that determination is made by our police department, and so that he's stated the process correctly.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I have another question. I looked at the chart, and I've actually I go down that street all the time. I go to Dollar General. There's a lot of people out there selling alcohol in that neighborhood. What makes this market think that they're going to have a competitive edge over the liquor store, over the other places along that strip that are selling alcohol?
They're not in there for competition. They're in there to service the customers conveniently. When they come in to buy their meat for their barbecues, their produce, and their groceries, they would like to buy a 6-pack or 12-pack and take it home. We're not in there to compete against them. We're providing a community service for the customers. That's what the purpose is behind this. And there are other licenses in the area. Yes, they do have those, but they don't have groceries. The 7-Eleven doesn't have meat. The 99-cent store doesn't have with the same thing. This is a public convenience for the customers, and that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant? I have one on, thank you very much. I have a question on condition P10. The outdoor trash receptacle, is that just a trash can or a trash enclosure?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask, this does require a public hearing, so I was wondering if your questions would be better if there's any public comments on, if you would like to open the public hearing first before we go into the questions on the conditions.
Okay.
I'm just thinking that might be just to close out the public hearing process.
Happy to do that. All right. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
We do, just one. Rafael Bugaris.
Regaris.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Chairmen, Commissioner, staff, and our guests. I want to thank Ms. Vice Chair Kozak for the question of how we all together collectively want to protect our city and make sure that all the rules are in place. And this is a unique store because not every store wants to sell you packages only. They want you to buy single bottles. And everything around this particular store is going to sell you single bottles. But this store, they're going to either sell you a 4-pack, 12-pack, or something larger. Now, he made a good point because many of us that shop in a supermarket especially, when we buy meats on sale and we get this urge to drink a wine with it, we buy the wine at the supermarket level or at Costco. So we do get service from these type of stores. Now, this is what this little store is going to do also, have a service for customers that decide at that moment that they want to buy a wine, a cooler, or a 6-pack. And that's it. No single bottles, nothing like that. So we're not going to have a lot of traffic with a lot of people going in buying single bottles like they do at 7-Eleven or at the gas stations. We know that for a fact. So this makes this store a little unique. The other thing, what I like about it, that they're trying to stay in the city of Moreno Valley and do business without closing up. And I know if you went like she does, she shops at Dollar Tree, and I know the neighborhood very well. This little store is among a jungle of big stores. So they're not in competition with the big stores like he mentioned. They're just trying to stay alive, stay in business, and serve the public. That's about it. So I'm hoping that it does get approved, but I do appreciate her for coming up with these questions to make sure that whatever happens, that they stick to the rules, that they don't open up those packages in the future. And if they do, there are conditions for them to come back to us or to ABC and to let them know what they want to do. I like what the staff just said, and I love her question, and I hope it gets approved so we can have them to stay and serve our city as they've been doing for however long. But we want them to stay in our city. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bergeros. Any other speakers?
No.
All right. I will now ask if the applicant would like to respond to anything he just heard.
Again, thank you for letting me speak. I would like to get clarified about the PCN Public Convenience and Necessity Letter, which will be coming from the police department. And the police department, my understanding, have sent a letter to the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control stating it's up to the ABC to make the determination. And according to Rich at the ABC office, the supervisor there, he says that we have to have something from the police department either denying it altogether, or they have no objection, or the decision is not to, they're making no decision on the license. That's all they have, is ask that the police department make a statement saying they have no decision on the issue of the license. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add, I did look through the process that ABC has, and if a city's police department, in this case, is supposed to make or is asked to make a determination, if that determination is not made within a 90-day period of time, in the absence of that determination, then the ABC board takes over the making the decision on their own. So it seems like it would be a timely process if the police department was to put something on the record, but that's not the only requirement. So if the police department does not make a decision, or there's a 90-day period that passes, then ABC has some other rights that they have. Just want to make that.
Thank you. All right. Having no other public speakers, we will close the public hearing. And have any comments or questions of staff?
I do. I'm confused because in the paperwork that we have, it says the Moreno Valley Police Department does not support the additional license in it. When did this change, and is there anybody here from the police department? Because reading this, they're worried about the oversaturation that I am. I go to that neighborhood several times a month. I come from Steerenstein, I stop there and I shop. At night, there's a change in that neighborhood, and there are a lot of people hanging out that obviously are drunk, or I don't even want to shed my opinion of what it is, but in that neighborhood at night, there are a lot of people hanging out that look a little unseemly. This says that the police doesn't support this, and now I'm hearing that the police might write a letter. So can someone clarify that for me?
Well, at this point, apparently the police department has not written a letter. They had indicated they might be here to answer questions tonight. Unfortunately, they're not able to be here apparently. I think the staff report pretty well described the whole scenario with regard to oversaturation, what that means, and police department's position on that. That's pretty much
I don't really know
status.
if they are going to write the letter or not.
At this point, that's correct.
That's, I'm going by what's here that was official, and I know people say things, but I don't know if that would happen. I do have that same concern over the oversaturation. I have nothing against this market. It's a lovely business. But when you have so many people selling alcohol in a neighborhood, and if the police are concerned about perhaps an increase in a crime rate, then I think to protect the citizens, I don't know if we should consider this. And that's all that I'm saying by what is put in front of us from the police department.
If I may try and provide a little clarification on why the staff report says something, and it sounds like we're saying something different. It may just be a matter of semantics in terms of referencing something as a letter that's going to be written. It's my understanding in talking with the staff, and I know directly in talking with the police department a couple of weeks back, that the police department had made a determination that they did not want to issue a determination for a public necessity and convenience. That's what's reflected in your staff report. If there is ongoing discussions with the police department, that can be the case, and the applicant may be working with the police department to try and get that letter that they're trying to seek. And that is a process that can continue. What I was trying to describe earlier is if the commission was to move forward and take an action on the conditional use permit this evening, they cannot begin to sell alcohol at that store until they secure the license through the ABC board. They would have up to 3 years with the granting of this approval. They would still have an active CUP. In the absence of a CUP, they could not go to ABC, get a license to sell alcohol and sell alcohol, because then they would be in violation of our municipal code, which requires them to have a conditional use permit to allow that to happen. So the CUP is a prerequisite for them to sell alcohol in any way. So just, it is a governing law here in the city because of the proximity of this store to residential.
Thank you. Commissioner Sims?
Yeah, when I read through this report, I struggle a little bit about that because, you know, the police, would have deference to their opinion on this or that. But at the end, what gives me some, what it sounds like is they have not issued, if the police department has to provide something to ABC, if this goes through and it gets a CUP and the ABC permit is applied for, then the police will have another bite at the apple to decide if they either want to. Sounds like they can be deny it, affirmatively deny it, or they could affirm it and say, okay, we're good with it, or they just say, there's just no deference, and they stand down. So I'm okay with that. That, I guess for me, it comes down, do we think this is, as a planning commission, do we think that this is a proper conditional use for this business? I tend to think it's, in my thought process, I think it's okay, mainly in the fact that I did not go past the store, but I go to one of the restaurants there quite often, and you know, there is some, even early Sunday mornings, you could see some people hanging out at the liquor store that's on the north side of that you go, what are they doing there? And but they're going to get in their singles to recover from Saturday or to keep the party going or whatever, you know. So, but a business like this is a business that's catering to groceries and, you know, meat market and so forth. I get the convenience part of it. To buy a 6-pack or 12-pack or something, take it home with your barbecue. That's different than going and selling distilleds and, you know, pints and singles and, you know, tall cans and stuff like that. Not saying that it won't happen later, but it sounds like there's a way for them to adjust their, and what Commissioner Baker said, if this guy's running a clean shop, he's not going to want the guys that are buying single traffic to come dirty up his store. He doesn't want that in his business.
Thank you, Commissioner Sims.
And he really did express that to me. Looking at the list here there's only 3 stores right in that general area in this census tract of this 425.21. It's the Dollar General, and then you got the Circle K, and what's the other one on Paris Boulevard? There's I guess that Valley Liquor. So that's the 3 in the general vicinity. The rest of these, I don't know how big this block is, but it goes all the way over to Alessandro. The rest of them are on Alessandro, which has nothing to do with this location. And I think I could support this the way it stands. I think in the given situation where they're going to sell it with groceries and not sell the singles, and he really spelled that out. They don't want to mess with the single business. And I was there at the night part too. I stopped in, and not to discredit what you said, but I didn't see anything going on around that store. Maybe it was the night I was there, but in the day part, it was very good. Okay.
Rick, I think you've probably answered this, but clarify to me, if this is approved and the police department then writes a letter of opposition, if they take a position in opposition to this, what are ABC's options?
It's my understanding that ABC would take the the determination from the local jurisdiction into consideration when they're going to make the determination on their license. Are they going to issue a license? If they have that determination, it's probably less likely that they would, but I'm not sure that they're precluded from doing that. I'd have to.
Not an
defer-
absolute.
I'd have to defer to ABC on that. But our assurance in the CUP, if you turn to page 60 of the document, the reason we're comfortable as the staff recommending this is that condition BD12, which is the second to last condition on page 60, is indicating that alcohol beverage control of the state of California approval will be required for alcohol licenses in the area. No alcohol beverage sales can commence until a type 20 alcohol license is secured, and the license must remain valid at all times. That's the assurance we have in here. So long as that they want to continue to work with ABC, and even in the event that the police department doesn't give them what they want, it's my understanding they can continue to work with ABC until the ABC is comfortable issuing the license. If they can bring more compelling arguments to our police department, over the course of that negotiation to the point where our police department is comfortable making a different determination if they have issued some sort of determination to them already, I think that's still an option out there. I'm saying the door's not shut, I guess.
I was just curious how much weight the police department recommendation carried with ABC. It's not an absolute.
I don't know that it's an absolute. I don't want to say that it's not important. I think that it is an important consideration of ABC. I think that is a fair statement to
It
make.
seems that it should be, but I was just
So,
curious. Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, with no further comments, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Sims.
Into the spot here. Okay, I would like to make a motion that the Planning Commission approve resolution number 2017-30 and certify that this item is exempt from the provisions of CEQA as a Class 1 categorical exemption. And 2, approve PEN 170048, the conditional use permit subject to the attached conditions approval included as Exhibit A to staff report.
I'll second that.
A motion from Commissioner Sims, a second from Commissioner Baker. Let me see if I can get the electronic wizardry to, Commissioner Sims, would you hit the mover button? And Commissioner Baker, can you hit the second? Again? One more time. There we go. All right. Please vote. The rest of us. All right, somebody missing? All right. What am I doing wrong? Oh, all votes have been cast. Sorry, operator error. Blame the chair. All right, 3 votes in favor, 1 opposed. The motion carries. Thank you. Closing remarks from,
The item that you've just taken an action on is an appealable action. If any interested party would like to file an appeal on this item, they can direct their appeal through the Director of Community Development to the City Council. The City Council we would work with the City Clerk to put it on an agenda for the City Council within 30 days. They have 15 days to file that appeal.
thank you very much. All right, moving on to case number 2. PEN 17-0091. The applicant is RSI Communities. And sorry, lost. The request is for a variance. Staff report.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Barnes and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Jeff Bradshaw. I'm an Associate Planner with the Planning Division. And the application before you this evening is a request for variance. The applicant, RSI Communities, is requesting the planning's consideration of a reduction in the street side setback for Lot 48 of Tract 22180-2. And if you look at the location map on the screen, this is a recorded map that's located northwest corner of Gentian and Paris Boulevard. The lot is located interior to the tract, and the lot itself is a site that's vacant. It's flat and has been graded in the past. Areas surrounding this particular location has comparable zoning. The zoning is R5 in surrounding neighborhoods with some smaller size lots to the west that are zoned RS10. There is an approved planned unit development across the street to the southwest. The Planning Commission approved recently called Legacy Park. And then directly south is the approved Walmart site that was also presented to the Planning Commission within the last couple of years. The specific request is for a reduction again in the street side setback for Lot 48. This lot is, the size of the lot is 0.14 of an acre. It is zoned R5 currently, and the request would allow for a reduction from the city's street side setback standard of 15 feet to 11.9 feet. The Tract 22180-2 is a recorded phase of a tentative map that was approved prior to city incorporation. So this is a map, the original tentative was approved in April of 1990, and shortly after that the map was recorded. And so the design of this map and the adjoining 22180-3 to the west were approved under a county standard, and it makes some of the lot sizes a little bit smaller than the current standard. So in this case, Lot 48 is 61 feet in width. The current standard for the R5 zone is 70 feet. The city staff worked with the developer to see if we couldn't come up with any number of solutions to this challenge of siting a home on a narrow lot, a corner lot. There is approved housing product for Tract 22180-3 to the west, which is also being developed by the applicant. That same housing product was also approved for this Tract 22180-2, and we worked with them. We considered every footprint that they had. We looked at combinations of setbacks, and just were not successful in coming up with a solution that would work. And that brings us here this evening with the request for the variance. In the staff report, there's some specific references to the city's requirements for a variance, and I wanted to read those into the record as part of the presentation. It reads, as provided for in section 9.02-100 of the municipal code, the purpose of a variance is to provide for equity in the use of property and to prevent unnecessary hardships that might result from a strict or literal interpretation and enforcement of certain regulations. The authority to grant variances is vested with the Planning Commission and requires a public hearing. Variances can be granted with respect to development standards, which would include street side yard setbacks as being requested by the applicant. In this case, the strict interpretation of the code would result in an unnecessary hardship because of the unique circumstances that apply to Lot 48 in this tract. Again, this map was recorded in October of 1990, prior to the adoption of our current code. It is designed with a lot width that is substandard to the current code. All other setbacks for Lot 48 have been satisfied, so they have selected the smallest housing, the smallest product, the smallest floor plan that they have in the approved homes that the city approved for them. And all other setbacks can be met except for the street side yard setback. Lot 48 would be the only lot within either this tract or the adjacent tract 22180-3, which is also being developed by RSI, that would require the variance. In terms of the environmental for the project, there was an environmental assessment that was prepared previously for this original project, a negative declaration for the tract map rather. A negative declaration was adopted for tract map 22180 on April 10th of 1990. Over time, the site has been disturbed through grading and other construction activities. And considering the site conditions and the request for the variance, the minor change that would be requested by that variance, staff has reviewed this project in light of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and determined that this project does not have the potential to cause a significant impact on the environment and therefore qualifies for a general rule exemption as provided for in Section 15061 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. Standard notification was completed for this project. The site was posted. The notification of the public hearing was also published in the local paper, and notices sent to all property owners within 300 feet of the site. As of this evening, did not receive any inquiries about tonight's public hearing at all or questions about the variance. With that, staff would recommend the Planning Commission approve Resolution 2017-31, certifying that the project is exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act, and approving variance application PEN 17-0091 based on the findings contained in the resolution. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jeff. Is the applicant present and wishing to make a statement?
I don't believe the applicant was able to make it this evening.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
I do have one. On the interior lots in the R5 zone, it looks like you have 5 on one side. If it's an interior lot, is the other side 5 and is the other side larger?
The standard is a combined 15 feet for interior lots. So you could go as small as 5 feet on one side as long as you had 10 feet of setback on the other. And then it can be any other combination as long as you have a minimum of at least 5 feet on one side.
So this one will have 16.9 or something like that is what we're looking at then.
So for corner lots, they would need to meet the minimum of 5 feet and typically would have to meet the full 15 feet. And they're not able to do that here in this case. But yes, you're correct in terms of the combined setbacks.
So I guess my point on that is it's going to look similar.
Yeah.
It's along the streetscape to the other lots.
That is something we also looked at in terms of the placement of the wall and the street view, and the parkway dimension between the wall and the corner and the sidewalk will all look the same as any of the other homes along that frontage.
Was the wall pulled back to 5 feet because there's a slope between the pad and the right-of-way, or was that an effort to mitigate the variance?
No, I think the placement of the wall is where the wall always would have gone. If this was a 70-foot wide lot, I think the wall ends up placed. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Chair Barnes. I apologize.
Well, normally without a slope, they would put the wall along the right-of-way to maximize the rear yard space.
For corner lots, typically they wouldn't have it right on the property line. There would be some width between the right-of-way and the wall to allow for street trees. And so this dimension of 5 or 6 feet is pretty standard for corner lots in the placement of the wall. Really?
Okay. Right, and then I think there's like 9 other corner lots. Those are all wider than 48, huh?
This is the only lot between tract 22180-2, in which lot 48 is located, and the adjoining tract that was also recorded at the same time that requires the variance.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other questions?
Just one other comment about the placement of the fence. At a corner lot, the other thing that's being taken into consideration is the sight distance. And so the wall also has to be pulled back in order to allow for the sight distance from El Brazo Drive in this particular location, looking in the direction where the wall would be. So that
All right, thank you. Well, having no public speakers. Oh, I'm
Actually,
sorry.
we do have
We
one.
do have a public
Yes.
speaker, yeah, we don't have the applicant. All right, so at this time, I'll open the public hearing.
Rafael Bugaris.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, staff, and guests. I'm glad that it took a little while to call me up because I got to hear a lot more of the project. So that was good. So there is a solution to the problem. And it's unnoticeable, as Mr. Sim mentioned, as it all gets done and all the trees get put and the grass goes down in the bush. It's just to be a smaller lot or something to be a little small. I went by there because I wanted to see how the city's growing on that side in District 4. To know that the Walmart will go up one day, that more houses will be around the school. I heard the year here, 1990. Wow, 27 years. Please, don't let another 27 years be empty in that little corner. We want to fill it up with a house at least. Somebody will be happy not to have a lot to clean or something. But I was happy to go by because I got to see of all the approvals and other things that we are doing in the city of Moreno Valley. Please, let's move on. Accept it. It's a small change, and it'll finish out the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. No other public speakers?
No.
All right, I'll close the public hearing. Now, any deliberation or comments? Or possibly a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm lost tonight. I can't get there. Yeah. All right. How about, you want to make a motion?
I can do whatever you like.
Proceed. I haven't done anything else right tonight, so I better not make a motion.
Okay, Planning Commission hereby approves resolution, make sure I'm on the right. Resolution number 2017-31, and thereby certifies that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, in that it can be determined with certainty that there is no possibility the variance application could have a significant effect on the environment, and is therefore exempt under section 15061B-3.
Motion from Commissioner Baker, second from Commissioner Korzak. Rest of us, please vote. Motion carries 4-0. Have a staff wrap-up.
Yes, the decision of the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. If any interested party would like to file an appeal, they have 15 days to make an appeal. The appeal should be directed in writing through the Director of Community Development to the City Council. If we do receive an appeal, we'll be working with the City Clerk to put it on the agenda for the City Council within 30 days.
Thank you, Mr. Sanzamora. Well, that being the final case, do we have any closing comments from the commissioners?
I do.
Commissioner Korzak.
I want to wish Mr. Sims a happy birthday. We were supposed to wear crazy hats tonight, and we all left them at home.
That's right, that was
But
actually
happy
in the
birthday. You
minutes.
still have time to go out and celebrate.
I'm happy to have lived another year. Look forward to many more.
We're happy that you could spend it with us, so
Wow.
thank you, Commissioner Sims. All right, anything else? Well, thank everyone. Thank you, staff, for your support and assistance.
I have a staff comment, if I may.
Please.
Just want to let the commission know, we do have some budget for the Planning Commission to, provide for some training opportunities from time to time. I don't have a robust budget. I can't send you guys to everything. But just came to mind that we just recently had a small event, the State of the City, which is also something that we can use some of our budget to send some of you to if you'd like to go. So if you ever see anything that comes up and you have a question to see if it is something that would be eligible, don't hesitate to give me a call. We'll try and work with you to get you the training that you need. We obviously budget some of the money to try and send some of the planning commissioners to the Planning Commissioner Academy that's put on by the League of California Cities. So that's part of what that budget is for, but there is a little bit in there for some little things here and there. So just want to let you know that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Anything else?
You know, I had one question here, Rick. You know, when we post these locations, there's one over on Ellsworth there next to Cactus. That sign's never been removed. Is that part of our contract with those guys, or do you need to know about that? I can
You
send
see-
you, shoot you an email if you want to know about them.
If you see a sign that's out there after the case has already been heard,
Yeah.
bring it to my attention. I would like our sign contractor to be removing those. We have talked to them about that on projects in the past. Some of the pushback they've given us is that they like to take those signs and then relocate them to the next, they repurpose them by putting new print on them for the next project and move it. But if we don't have another project coming up at the next agenda, then they leave that sign out there for a long period of time. That's unsightly in my opinion. So if you see that, let me know. I've asked my staff to look into that, and so we'll take care of it.
I do want to, I live out on the east end, and I do want to report that I see Larry Jacinto, grading contractor, pushing dirt around and regrading the development that it was right across from the now defunct, or, well, no, I shouldn't say defunct, it's the outlet now, Best Buy outlet. So hopefully those houses get up and more foot traffic gets in that commercial zone over there.
Very good. Anything else? All right, well, with that, thank you very much. We are adjourned until the next regularly scheduled meeting of
September 28th, I believe.
September 28th? Is that correct? All right, September 28th, we will see you then. Thank you very much.